Um, Welcome, everyone. This is the Ashburnham Planning Board meeting of Wednesday, August 11th, 2021. It's let the record show that we're opening the meeting at 6:30. So I'm calling it to order. Attendance. It's clear we have Richard here, we have Steve here, Larry and myself. Lindsay is informed me before the meeting that she's unable to attend today. Roger Hoyt, I expect to show up, and if he does, please add that to the record that Roger has arrived. The notifications, there's Roger right there, right on cue. Because this is a Zoom meeting, we are recording it. I need to make certain announcements, so forgive me for boring you, but I have to read these things because that's the bureaucracy we all live in. The agenda is as of posted on the town website and includes items reasonably anticipated by the chairman 48 hours prior to the meeting. Votes may be taken. Order and exact times of agenda items may vary at the board's discretion, except for public hearings, which cannot start prior to the scheduled time. Documents submitted for review can be found under the Planning Board tab on the town website. The meeting is being.
My apologies. I couldn't hear.
The meeting is being recorded. The recorded minutes will be the official record, but written minutes will be prepared for easier reference to the topics covered and the actions taken. If you are joining the meeting remotely, there's nobody on, but I'll say this anyway, please keep your microphone on mute unless you have been invited by the chairman to speak. When the board is open for public comment, please raise your hand using the feature provided in Zoom and wait until you are recognized by the chairman to speak. Those presenting to the board must have at least one representative present at the meeting, not remote, with hard copies of the application and plans for the board to consider. Next agenda item, as the chairman, the only thing I want to say is it's probably the last Zoom meeting we have, although I feel like we may want to set up something where we record our meetings, because we have found that the recorded minutes or recorded meetings had allowed us to correct minutes, and they have been useful in the past if there's been a mistake. I don't know what the legalities of doing that are, but for the board's board's benefit, we'll look into that between now and our September meeting. The chairman has no other comments. Does the vice chairman have any comments? The vice chairman has no comments. So we're here for the hearings and applications. And the first item on our agenda is right here in front of me. It's an A&R for Hilltop Drive. Is there a representative here to tell us all about it?
That's me.
Okay.
I'm Alex from Zoxabears.
I have recognized you, Alex, from your.
Is that good? Is that good or bad?
That's yeah.
We'll find out.
We'll find out. Yeah. Go ahead and walk us through this. I have a couple of questions. We did share this with everybody.
Okay.
But please walk us through it.
Okay. Our clients are splitting up the rest of it's a family, brother and two brothers and a sister, and they're splitting up the rest of their land. The 4+ acre lots with a outlot in the rear corner that's going to be deeded to one of the abutters over there, Mr. Brandis, I guess his name is. And that's the rest of the family land, I guess. And that's just about it.
This lot, as stated, is not a buildable lot.
Correct.
So
it's being deeded to, the intent is to be sold to Mr. Brandis.
so that's the intent. But until it is sold to that, I would need you to, if you would, this is a new thing from the building commissioner. We want you to mark on the plan that this is not a buildable lot.
Okay.
So that when it goes to record, it shows that it is not a buildable lot.
Okay. I know I have
Okay.
notation.
You do
over
have a
there
notated
saying
where
that,
you're,
yes.
it's where you're considering it.
Yeah.
If you could do that, that would be helpful,
Okay,
okay, too, and desired by us.
okay.
Does anyone else have any comments?
Simply not a building lot.
Yeah, it's not a building.
Okay.
Yeah, that has been an issue on some other things in
Okay.
town, which
Okay.
is why, which helped us
Okay.
when we went back to the official record. We were able to see that it was not deeded,
Okay.
not a buildable lot right on the signed form,
Simple.
which, and it was a it's non-conforming, non-buildable. And other than that, I didn't understand when I looked at the assessor's map, it looked like middle.
It's
Midway
not
comes in here.
depicted on the assessors, no.
Yeah, this does not connect through.
No, no,
Okay, so sled road dead ends into here.
correct.
This is not, but your intent is to deed it to Mr. Brandis.
Yeah, it just so happens he owns.
Yeah, and that
sides
will,
over there.
that will essentially connect their lots.
Sure.
Is there a reason why you carried it all the way to here? It's just what they want.
They wanted to do 100 by 100. So I said, well, I'm gonna go to the drill hole at the end of the stone wall because it's good monumentation. And it just so happens it's a little over 100 feet.
Mhm, mhm.
And they were fine with that.
Okay. All right. Any questions, Richard?
Nope, I have none.
Any questions, Larry? How about you, Steve?
Can I get oriented on it? I mean, I know Hilltop Drive runs, downhill. And where's Midway? I don't, like Sled Road, I know where Sled Road is. I'm a little disoriented as to. what I'm looking at.
You check out the locust map in the corner, maybe that might help. Pretty much the road, the drivable part of the road pretty much ends at like the elbow here, if you will.
Okay. Right here.
No, up a little further, no,
Right, is Hilltop a public road?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I was told it was private according to the clerk, according to the town clerk.
Is it private?
list here.
Yes, she told me it was private. Yeah, about there is about where.
Yeah, that's where it ends. And this
Yeah,
is
because
just-
I know there's a couple of houses over in here. Probably the last house is probably about right there.
It's the most recent map on the wall there. If that's useful at all. It's not listed under private way category, but it doesn't mean it's not somewhere else there. Hilltop, okay, located like off Harris Road, private way.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay. Roger, you have any,
I do. No,
nothing to add,
it's just like Lot B has frontage on Hilltop Drive
as
as
does,
well as
They both do, yes.
unbuilt Midway.
this is gonna
at
be
some point.
interesting because later tonight we have to talk about Stotch Meadow and the whole issue. They have the frontage, but it's on a private road and the private road probably doesn't meet the specs
Yeah.
of being able to access it. So we're gonna have to have a conversation about how to get a ruling on that. But that's not part of this.
Yeah, because Hilltop is maintained by the group there.
Right.
I do
There's
know
a
that.
maintenance, there's some kind of a maintenance understanding with the town.
They
even if it's
plow
not-
it and they
even if it's
maintain
not
it, they pave
official.
it.
Okay. So any other comments?
And
Do I have a motion to approve this as a sub, it's clearly not a subdivision. And it clearly has the right lot size except for the not buildable lot. And those are the two criteria that we have to go on with.
That one there.
Is everybody comfortable?
I'm comfortable.
Mhm.
We're all comfortable?
I'll make a motion to approve it with the addition of, right on the paper, adding that.
That's not a buildable lot.
Not a buildable lot. And do
And
you
I'll
have-
second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No opposed? Well, thank you very much. Will, if you can make that one change, sorry to do this. for you.
I could do it right now if you give me a skinny Sharpie.
Okay,
Now, were you guys gonna want corrected copies as well, or?
Yeah,
no,
we'll need, for our record, we need 3 copies, correct?
Yeah.
3 copies.
Yeah, with the correct.
With the notation
Yeah,
on
with
it?
the
Oh,
notation.
okay, Okay, I can do that.
That doesn't work, well. Oh, you have thick ones.
We have others.
Well,
Okay. While you're taking care of that, we can move on to the next item we have is Willard Road A&R. This was before us before, so I'm very curious to find out what's changed and why.
absolutely.
Just say this one here. Just will you get your name and.
Yes, please give your name.
Yep, so for the record, Justin Claire McCarty Engineering here tonight in front of you guys on behalf of 73 Willard Road LLC,
Mhm.
who's Edgewater Construction. They were the ones that previously bought this and subdivided it the first time.
Mhm.
Justin Leclerc.
Yep.
Yes.
So as you can see on this plan here, what I highlighted in pink were the changes that were made from the previous A&R that you guys saw back in, I believe it was April or May. So some of the front property lines changed, some of the side property lines on lots 3A and 4A changed, and the lot line between 5A and 6A changed. Because of that, the lot areas for lots 3 through 6 were updated accordingly. The revised lots still meet the Ashburnham zoning bylaws as conforming lot and still meet the A&R requirements. The reason that these lot lines were adjusted was based on our site test pit data and septic design. We had to adjust some of the lot lines to accommodate septic systems in houses per Title V.
Mhm.
So because of that, we wanted to come before you guys with the revised plan, and this is now based on the real septic data that we do have.
So it's this, the plan otherwise is still the same.
Yep.
These are 7 lots that you're selling individually.
Yes,
And, and it's just an adjustment of the lot lines from what we had previously approved.
yep, and I thought I'd make it easier. This was the original one that you guys saw,
Okay,
so in purple. the
thank
pink
you.
Is what changed.
That's helpful because what was sent to me didn't tell me which was the original. and
Yeah,
so-
I figured,
Okay, that's
I
good.
always find colors and
Okay, you have the Mylars?
I believe the
Oh, the
Mylars are right there.
Mylars are here. I'm sorry.
Yep, I did drop them off.
My stupid. Yeah.
I wanted to make sure they were in town hall just in case.
Mhm.
So besides that, if you guys have any other questions, more than
Yeah.
happy to answer.
Does anybody have any questions?
I don't.
Richard,
Everything, the numbers are there, so we're good.
numbers are there?
Yep.
You're good, Larry? Roger, this was done under your watch. Are you comfortable with it?
That's far back. Yeah, it's fine. We just have a date on the drawing just to put in the record.
Yep. So this one is dated July 9th, 2021.
July 9th, 2021. Steve, you comfortable?
Yep.
Okay, can I have a motion?
Make a motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and second. All those in favor? Any opposed? None? Motion passes unanimously. We'll sign the Mylars and give them to
Perfect. And 3 copies?
and 3 copies. We'll do the same for you too. You don't have to stick around.
Oh, okay, okay. So I'll be notified when the Mylar is ready to get picked up.
Yeah, you can expect you may be able to pick them up even tomorrow if you want to, so.
Yeah, she usually-
It certainly
she
would,
usually said this
it
in the
certainly
email.
would, yeah, she'll send you an email and you can come get them and it
Okay.
won't be, at worst case, it'll be a week from today. So, okay,
That's fine.
If I may.
yes, sir.
Just for informational purposes. Let the planning board know that we, the Conservation Commission, with this enforcement order against parties, but against the landowner, for destruction of wetlands, buffer zone areas, et cetera. So I'm assuming that there's no further activity out there. I have not heard from 73 Willard or Edgewater, but they were parties to the enforcement order. I did send it to them via email. For your records.
Okay,
Um,
I'm all set.
okay, you're all set. Thank you very much. Good to see you again.
Yep.
Good to see you.
wait before another one is issued. And I guess my one other comment is
And I trust that you, if you speak to the landowners, you will again convey the need for them to contact the Conservation Commission so that we can square things away.
Yeah, this is the first that I'm hearing of it, so
I'm sure.
the more you can tell me, the more I can relay.
Not wrong. I guess the second thing is that this is the Form A that was submitted, I guess, as part of this. The updated Willard Road. To me, the application is incomplete simply because I have no idea who the applicant is. Look at the form, the applicant's name is not on it. So all I have is a scribbling and a phone number. Is where it says print name of owner, there's nothing. The address is there, but I have no idea who the name is. And again, it's not signed by the land surveyor as required on Form A. Again, other than having maps, I have no idea who the applicant is. I think that would be of interest.
Well, that's a very good point. We happen to have known who the applicant is, so we overlooked that. But you're right, it should be a matter of protocol that the form is filled out and not filed in for without this. And I'll talk to Heather about that because we probably shouldn't even see it unless it's filled out correctly. Thank you. That's good. Any other thoughts? None other? You have it approved? I'll pick up the Mylars.
Yep.
And after we get them signed and given to Heather and taken care of.
And I'll send
Okay.
the applicant. So.
Okay.
We appreciate that. Thank you very much.
I'm sure he is.
Next item on the agenda is Stodge Meadow Road. Now I want to call everybody's attention to, I hope you need more copies of this. But on this Stodge Meadow Road, there's, well, attached to Stodge Meadow Road and attached to this, an email from Sarah that I sent to you all. I don't know if you read it, but you did?
I did not.
You did, didn't I? I've read it, so you two, and then if you could pass the one copy, maybe I might have another down on to Steve. The reason why this is important is I think the issue from Sarah's point of view, if I can paraphrase, and if anybody thinks I misunderstood or read it wrong, it's on a private road. And one of the things that the town has not consistently done is make sure there's an understanding, if it's a private road, how it's to be maintained in order for the town to have appropriate access to the road in case of emergencies, primarily fire and police. Sarah is sent it to us primarily. Sorry for you. I assume you're Stodge Meadow? Okay, I'll ask you your name in a moment. But Sarah sent it to us because she is trying to establish what is the protocol for dealing with something like this, because there are certainly, anybody can go around this town and they can see a wide variety of private roads, some maintained well and some maintained inadequately. So she is asking for consideration of that. She sent it to us because she did not feel that as the building commissioner, based on what the lacking in our bylaws, of which Marshall and I are very familiar with, the bylaws inconsistencies and issues that we have in the bylaws. So what should be our process? I would let me ask your name and do it, and you can join our conversation.
My name is Robert Hallett, H-A-L-L-E-T-T.
I think the other thing she said is you don't yet own the property.
I have the signed agreement with the owner.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm still on the fence as to what I can do with the property.
Okay,
My lawyer's been involved and I'm like ready to sign and purchase it.
Yeah.
But I've been going with Sarah and Heather,
okay.
and we're just trying to make a determination is it gonna end up being an unusable lot that I'll never be able to do anything on, not even put a tent, so I just
Yeah.
like to get some kind of, then that's why I'm here, to kind of clear up some of these questions.
Yeah, so I'll start by sort of apologizing that you're gonna kind of be a guinea pig here in the sense
No,
that
that's
because we're trying to get our own processes clear as to how we should be addressing these sorts of things that come up to the town. And there are considerable issues on private roads because many private roads are plowed by the town. And there's issues with, with the roads not being maintained and plows getting damaged. And then there's also access. There's a lot of issues that have not been resolved. What I will want to do with this is before we can assign you sort of, an address number, which is the key reason you're there. Sarah feels strongly that this would be, under normal circumstances, a buildable lot. And it would be something that you could, follow the bylaws and put whatever structures are allowed in the bylaws. And she could certainly give you guidance on that. Hey, Wes, it's fine for you to come on. So that's not the problem. The problem we're gonna have to work on is what is the understanding about the maintenance of the road? Now, there are other houses on that private road?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so there's lots of houses, lots of lots on that private.
Lots of lots and lots of houses.
Lots of lots and lots of houses.
In the house, okay.
This house is all the way down past me on the pond side. This is on the opposite side. This would probably be the last house on the non-pond side.
Mhm.
There was one just before me up on the
You're
hill.
way up then.
So here's
Go ahead.
where I am.
Okay.
There's kind of a map of what we're looking at.
House on it.
You know a guy named Shay?
I don't know anybody out there except for Mrs. McCarthy,
This is McCarthy.
who's made herself well known to me every time I go up there. She's quite the talker. So this is a little more zoomed in version.
No, go ahead, sorry.
This is just a little more zoomed in version of the actual lot. One of the stipulations that Sarah and Heather came across was MGL 48, section 6, about grandfathering things in, having to do with when Ashburnham started doing zoning laws.
Mhm.
So she said she believed it was prior to 1962, there could be no common abutters. So the last common abutter was actually 25 January 1960. This is a map of all the owners of the surrounding properties, all their deeds. And the last person, so this was actually developed in 1956 and subdivided by a guy named Marble. And I'm sure he owned a lot because Marble Pond, Marble Road.
So the front, I mean, the lot itself, does it meet all the criteria?
So if it has to be before zoning laws, which if I got this right, is before 62, the law, MGL says it has to be 50 feet in frontage and 5,000 square feet. So this is 9,700 square feet and 60 feet of frontage, minus 3 inches.
So that would
That's correct.
make it.
So it would make it.
Yeah.
It's just the question of accessibility.
Until we have a bylaw that says that it's clearly written as to what we can and can't tell people on a private road, it's a buildable lot.
It's a buildable lot.
Is there a
Are
community
these
agree- is there a
houses on
community
the,
agreement?
the houses on the lake, are they year round?
Yes.
They are
Oh,
year
yeah,
round,
Mrs.
so they have to
McCarthy's-
maintain road all year long.
This is McCarthy's
by
got
the
a big
group.
house across the street.
Okay, it's similar to Hilltop then. I mean, it's on our book.
So this is
He's
kind of what-
finding it there, he's doing it, it's legal to put up the house, he's doing it his peril in terms of.
Well, at this particular time,
Until you have-
again, we
until you
have to say, he doesn't own the lot yet.
Yeah.
When he
No.
does own the lot, right now, we would say that it's a buildable lot, which answers your question,
Yeah, that's,
but it still raises the issue that the town has to deal with having the appropriate frontage. The bylaws are the bylaws are unclear, is the issue. I wouldn't say it doesn't say it can't, it doesn't, it's just not clear. And it's been interpreted in multiple different ways, and that's the issue. And so we have to clarify that, and we will. So that's it. And given what that road is, I think it is, but what I would like to recommend to the board myself is that we invite, or we either engage with the town administrator and DPW director, and we talk about this issue of roads in there, so that we can then give direction, clear direction that has been worked through with the town to Sarah. So Sarah can sort of give you possible direction. The house number is not an issue really at this time. When you build something, we can give you a house number and all of that. So
Yeah.
that's not something that is time sensitive.
So you need to communicate with the highway superintendent to have him take a look at the lot.
The road and come up with understandings of what our
But you can't,
one of the things that you're a victim of is you're a victim of a new building commissioner who's trying to do her job right, which we're very grateful for, because that has been an issue in the town in the past.
Yeah.
So she's trying to do her job right, and she's raising this question here. We could, after we have the conversation with the, town administrator and the DPW, we can issue to her, yes, our understanding is this is a buildable lot. These are the conditions. And we would say, this is a buildable lot and these are the conditions. And part of those conditions would be something related to, the road in that area. And we're gonna have to figure out how to, how to deal with that.
Yeah.
So I hope that answers your question.
it does. I'll just leave you with a couple more things. And so this is what the road looks like.
She did say you researched it very well and it helped
Yeah.
Well, I
a
was-
great deal.
I was a map maker
And we,
in the environmental engineering for 30 years with the federal government. So
are you looking to move to Ashburnham?
I am not.
Oh.
But I,
We're not gonna approve it.
every place I go and I say I'm a GIS specialist. I live in air.
Oh, yeah, I saw. it.
Well, all right, nothing else I can leave you except this is just my final little, so on that map right there, that's actually just my kind of measurement of, there's an 18-foot, to me, the road is 18 feet wide at the minimal point, because Mrs. McCarthy has built this little rock garden. So it's a minimum of 18 feet. That's the distance to my property, to the property line. And this is the distance to her property line. So that's kind of what the road looks like. And if I was gonna build something, I guess this would be, this would be what I'm looking at. With 20 foot, with a 50-foot setback, not from the road, but from the actual property line, with a 20-foot setback surrounding the abutters. That leaves me with 2,100 square feet of area.
Okay.
So anyway, I just kind of put that on there just for my own mind to try to verify if there's anything. I'm just looking at something little. I'm not looking at building a McMansion up there. I just want to build something little.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
I appreciate your work and your effort on this, and it does help us clean up.
This is funny because the house actually has a right of way to the water. This is the only picture I have of it. This is Mrs. McCarthy's house. This is the right of way.
That's the right of way to the water.
The right of way, no, the right of way is right here. This is the right of way, 20 feet. She decided that she didn't like, so she bought the right of way and the next property with the intention of building another house, and someone wouldn't let her because it's a little teeny
they have
property.
probably deeded covenants in their Oh, to-
So
to-
she bought
right-
this,
right-
and then
right
she
on
said, well, I don't, I want this too, because there's erosion here. So she bought this and then put a driveway over the top of it. So I asked her, I said, if that's my right of way, how do I get down to the water? Well, I guess you'll have to walk down my walk and through my yard. So she understands that I do have a right of way to get down there, though I don't want it, but.
Well,
do
whoever,
when you
whatever you
sell it.
do when you have that.
Right,
property.
exactly. I mean, it's
Good
part
with
of,
a lot.
I have the original deed, that's part of the deed, but it's a 24 right of way. I mean, she built a retaining wall on the water and you'd have to dive off the wall to get into the water.
This is a,
It's crazy. All right, anyway,
this is an interesting case study.
Isn't it?
In a lot of different.
I'm glad I can help.
And
I'll-
the
you can have
chairman
one
of the Conservation Commission is right to your left, and I wonder what he thinks about putting a driveway across.
Duly noted. Do not mention my name. Because she's very nice to me, but I think she could be a handful.
You can go on and on with that, those situations.
Right.
Well, I just had one comment
Yes,
on
go
that.
right in.
As
Go
far
right in.
as determining the suitability of the road, we do have town engineer or whatever firms the town arranges with, so if the board couldn't make that determination, or DPW couldn't make that determination, we could arrange with.
I'm of a mind to, I think the way I work is I want to bring all the people who have a
Mhm.
stake in this conversation to the table. Do it. We too often, I think in the past, one little group is talking over here and another little group is talking over there. And we don't get coordinated in what should be the response. We may very well do exactly what Steve said, just say, hey, this is what the laws say. We're going to interpret it this way for now, but then we're going to turn to the bylaw review committee and we're going to say, make sure it's written appropriately in
I think that's
the
the way it's gonna,
bylaws.
I think that, well, from my perspective, at this point, that's
Yeah.
the way it's gonna fall. If you want, unless you want to get into a legal mess.
Oh, exactly. We're not going to. No. So,
I
Anyway,
hope I've helped you straighten this out.
no, well, and I appreciate all the work you did to bring the conversation to us.
I would suggest that you might want to ask John Fairbanks, who's the head of the Side Meadow Pond Association.
Oh, really?
I hear cringes.
I've had multiple conversations with.
I won't mention your name.
Well,
but we'll want to
only
find out.
because he's aware of
Yeah.
the maintenance of the road. And I mean, I've
He is.
seen the graders out there.
He is.
The road is
See, the-
pretty well maintained.
How he came into my life is that Mr. Stanton, that now owns the property, has not paid his associate. When I first talked to John Fairbanks, I said, do I have to join the association? He says, if you want to use the pond. I said, that's fine. If I don't want to use the pond, I don't have to join. He goes, well, no, I guess not. Then he came back 2 weeks later and called me and said, Mr. Stanton hasn't paid dues since whenever, right? Because he didn't want to use the pond anymore.
Hmm.
I'm gonna have to put a lien on the property. You're gonna have to collect the back dues. So, so anyway, I sent this all to my lawyer, so
Okay.
we'll see where that goes.
Well, we
I
thank
mean,
you.
he's,
It's a volunteer.
he seems like a nice guy. He's just very.
Yeah.
Associations of
I know.
volunteers,
Yeah.
unless you sign it.
Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. The fourth item, which should be an easy one, is Lake Road, and there's the need for a house number. And I'm gonna defer to the house number experts that are in the room, which is Roger and Richard. So how do we, did you see this, Richard?
This is still Stodge, right?
Me and Roger.
This is Lake Road.
Real quick.
It's Lake Road.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna just go in there and do that, right?
Yeah.
Give it a house number.
Yeah,
real
I'll
quick.
go get the numbers for sheets.
I'll tell you what, why don't we, since we do not have any representative here at the end, we'll defer this to the end of the meeting.
Yeah, we can go in and do it
We'll
after.
do this thing.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, I have no other applications for,
Do we have anyone waiting on at all?
we do not, and I've been looking every now and then, hold on, just a second.
Potentially Jason about the zoning map.
I don't see,
No.
I don't see anybody in the waiting room. Okay. So therefore, the hearings and applications item on the agenda, we can move on from that. We've got public comment. I know that Wes is here because he wants to bring something to our attention that they are soon to. But this is not something we can take action on because it hasn't been on the agenda.
No, so.
Wes, last name?
Bliss, Whitman and Bingham Associates.
Is that how you pronounce it, Fliss?
Bliss, yeah, real simple. for-
I'm sorry, I've been pronouncing it wrong for all these years and you've never corrected.
It happens. You usually see every time it gets misspelled for only having 4 letters in it. So about 2 years, probably less than 2 years ago, about a year and 9 months maybe, so we were in front of the board with Sean Collette for a subdivision, conceptual subdivision plan over off of Whitney Road. COVID came, he kind of sat on the project because obviously the economy was so unsure. Now, obviously, house market is crazy right now, so now residential is back in favor. And so what we're doing, submitting is a preliminary subdivision plan, similar to what you saw before, just more detailed to meet the subdivision, preliminary subdivision regulations. Also included is in there is the conventional concept plan and how we derive the number of lots. And so at the time, we had shown you a cluster subdivision, and we're still looking to do a cluster subdivision in there. And so at the next meeting, I know you need to post a hearing and so forth, and I can get into more depth about the project. There's really not a lot of difference between what we presented in concept manner to the board last time. Really the couple of issues that came up, it really had to do with access. We were only showing one main access, but a secondary emergency access adjacent to the new elementary school. And so that was really the kind of the outstanding issue, I think, on that. And so the directive that we got out of that meeting was to work with the fire and police to make sure that they were comfortable with that secondary emergency access. We were showing a 20-foot wide access out to
I
the,
remember this now.
out to, like I said, right adjacent to the elementary school. But you'll see in here, I do, like,
Turnpike, was it over the turnpike road?
there's no existing road there now. He owns a strip of land that is to the, I'm trying to think of actually what direction it is. I want to say it's
Goes behind the school?
you go to the north of it, right to the north side. And so to the right to the north property line of the school now, there's an existing cart road that runs
Yeah.
out through that property. And so it would fall roughly where that existing cart road is now. And so that was really I think the biggest issue that came up with the last thing. Other than that, so you'll see in here, I show a conventional subdivision under conventional regulations. We can show 48 lots using an entire property. Originally, when we came in front of you, we showed 46 lots because Mr. Collette owns 2 lots at the end of New Street. As part of this, he wants to include those 2 lots in this development now. And so we will, when we get to the definitive stage, look at the numbers. Right now, the open space meets exactly what it needs to meet. So we're going to take a look at the lot numbers and get to that 48 number because he wants to include those 2 lots and get rid of those 2 lots at the end of New Street. Trying to look at he's trying to look at developing them. It doesn't really make sense for him to develop them there if he's going to do the rest of this development. It just makes more sense to develop it off this new road and not have to put the people at the end of New Street into any kind of bind by him putting a cul-de-sac in there, putting 2 new houses over there. And so what I have here is the application to the planning board. And so I have 2 copies of the preliminary subdivision plan, 2 copies of the conventional plan, 2 copies of the application, 2 copies of the abutters list, 2 copies of the deed, and 2 copies of the last bill from the tax collector's office that Mr. Collette or Mrs. Collette went and paid yesterday. And so you can see that he has a balance of 0 with the tax office. If you need anything else from us, let us know. I'll give you a check for $500. What we're not doing right now, and we're going to do it at the definitive stage, is applying for the special permit for cluster because we want to get all the issues out now. Obviously, if the board's not in favor of the project, we don't want to file for a special permit because we're not going to go that route, obviously, at that point.
Okay.
And we want to do that at the definitive stage. We'll do it concurrently with the definitive stage. But also, what we need for preliminary and what we needed for definitive is there's a whole heck of a lot more information on the definitive plan, which will have a lot of that information completed for the definitive plan, but also for the special permit application.
Okay.
What I have with me is a copy for the town clerk and a copy for the Board of Health.
Mhm,
So what I'll do is give the board their copies tonight,
Mhm.
and I'll deliver these tomorrow
mhm.
to the town clerk and the Board of Health. Now, I don't know, so there was,
We will end up giving those to Heather tomorrow, and I'll have her.
okay, that was my
put them-
question.
Yeah, we'll put them, more and more, we're doing things electronically, because
Okay.
it's easier for us to share and for us all to look at the stuff.
Do you want me to
at the
email
same
you all
time.
this, all the documents?
That would be very helpful.
I have everything in PDF, so I can email you it tomorrow morning.
I
into the
can
office.
put the check and that stuff on her desk, and if
Okay.
you can email
Do you want
everything
their
to
copies,
us,
or do you want me to still deliver their copies hand delivered?
just deliver their copies. They're
Okay.
another committee and let them have
Okay.
their.
Now, I
stuff.
know in your application, you have a place to stamp for the planning board,
Mhm,
Board of Health, and the town clerk.
mhm.
I'm gonna, want me just, how do you want me to do that? Have them stamp their own copies in, and then, because I have one
No,
copy
no.
of the application for myself. Here,
Yeah.
and I was gonna have everybody stamp, when I hand deliver their copies, I was gonna have them.
Oh, that it was arrived, is that what the stamp
Correct.
is for? Oh,
Correct.
just saying that it arrived,
Well, yeah, you can see here, yes, yeah, so at the bottom of the application, the second page of your application.
so you just need a signature.
So the bottom there, it says application received, planning board, and then the amount of $500 unless you've changed your fee schedule since it's been.
If you don't mind, Wes, just
in-
doing this straight to Heather,
Okay.
keeping it in.
And that's
'cause
fine.
This is a little jumping out of turn, and
Yeah,
that way,
that's fine.
and she's responsible for making sure, and then she
Okay.
can sign it in.
And do you want her to take the whole PEP?
Yeah, that
package?
would be the better way to
Okay, we
do
can
it.
do it Easy enough. Like I said, I don't,
Because I think that will be a simpler way to prove that you've done it, and then you're right. I think I'll like the idea, because you have each of that.
Yeah.
And then she'll send us a.
Notice that it came to her.
Well, yeah, and you can also, if you
I can
send,
email you
if
everything.
you send me the electronic copy of that, then I can circulate it to the board and her.
Okay.
And we'll work off the electronic copy until we want to come into, if we want to come in and look. We sometimes do if
Yeah.
it's not very easy to read an electronic copy. We can, each of us can come in on our own and read what she.
Okay.
Yeah.
Easy enough.
So that's the better way
Yeah.
of doing it.
Just a quick question.
Sure.
If I may.
Yeah, go right ahead.
What are these, what road is this tying into?
This is right next to this is the elementary school, right? I can't think of the name of the street now. off the top of my head.
No,
This Williams?
This is Briggs.
No, this is Williams. I went next to side road there.
Turnpike?
Is it Turnpike? Right,
yeah.
yeah, Turnpike, yeah.
The electric company has that
Substation.
Okay.
substation on the
Yeah,
side.
That's New Street. So this is,
Dead end? Is New Street a dead end?
New Street is a dead end, correct?
And this
off
is
of,
the.
right.
That is-
What is the cross street? just like
Yeah.
that.
That, no, well, it's technically a street, because there's houses off, there's houses on both sides. I can't think of the name of that street, but because you can see the wetlands here, I didn't show it as as
Yeah,
part of the
Street,
conventional.
South Ash, it's where the old Emmeline Jewel is, and that senior housing is out there.
New Street's the one next to it.
New Street's a little, it's off of Cross Street, it's a little tiny little.
Yeah, it services
Send
all
you
four
my-
houses, I think it is, yeah.
My notes.
Yes. And,
Has this gone, have you seen
No.
no,
it?
and so as part of, well, you have, the property you have seen years ago when Demick
Demick,
had done his 40B out
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
And so you, yeah,
So, yeah, we'll,
yes, and so as part of this, we'll, when we get closer to the definitive, obviously, we'll start working with the conservation commission too.
Yeah.
As part of the application, but we're so far removed, obviously, but the intent here is to get everything approved. Or work through the town during the winter time, so they can start the project next year is really the intent.
no, this is good. This is good that you're starting it, and we'd like to have a heads up before we see the paperwork anyway.
No,
'cause it
and that's
also
what
gives
we,
us a
exactly why I
context.
wanted to come to you guys
Yeah,
tonight.
and what, you going as an OSRD?
It's gonna be open, yeah, open space, yeah. And so like I said, we're not applying for the resident, the
Yeah.
special permit right today.
Right.
We just want to do preliminary just to get the initial comments out of the way.
And I would just suggest we had a previous application that eventually got withdrawn, but Open Space Committee had some comments on
Okay. For the different projects?
a different project,
Yeah.
but I think they would again apply as far as how the open space is handled.
Yep, and that, yeah, then, so, yeah, we can have obviously conversations about that, and if we can have it now, some of the conversation now. And then as the definitive goes along, obviously, then they can start getting into the deep language and how they want to see that happen. But we have no problem working with, whatever the
Yeah.
town wants to see the open space happen. And the way it's set up is, I know obviously there's specific regulations in the open space regulation in regards to the amount of wetlands can be in the open
Mhm.
space, and so we'll show you those calculations when we do the special permit for the open space permit. But we do, I do have the math, not with me, but I do have the math. We have done it. And, we do make that requirement. So I think it's around 27%. Entire piece of property is 27%. Open space is like 26.9%. So.
And now what's the percentage of the wetlands?
That's what I'm saying. So the entire piece of property is 27%. The
Okay.
open space is 26.9 is the
Okay.
way it sets up. That's the way it's written. Like, we can't have a number bigger than the entire piece of property.
Okay,
And so that's why we're trying to stay under that number. And
Okay,
so
I
that's
get
where
you.
we were.
okay,
And then I think it was 50% of the property has to be open space, which we actually exceeded. The entire property is about 66 acres. We're at 35 acres of open space. We're above the 50%, but trying to get that percentage work with the wetland, we had to be a little bit bigger. And just so I know, Marshall, you were looking at the plans. We are obviously not in favor of the conventional subdivision because we do show a number of crossings. We'd have to get into crossings and wetlands and deal with that. When you look at the cluster, we only have really one crossing that we're trying to use existing crossings.
Okay.
And we're just gonna,
I
the way I show it in there,
on the sites,
Yeah. it show the retaining walls to get the grading. And so that was the biggest reason why we're trying to do cluster, is because we
Right.
know the sensitivity of the wetlands out here. We're trying to keep as much of it away from the wetlands as we can. But that's the thought there. But like I said, I'll bring it over to the town clerk tomorrow and we'll proceed from there.
that's great.
Now, when's your next meeting?
Next, September 8th, you have September 8th, September 22nd.
Okay, perfect.
So those are 2 meetings in September.
All right, and then we'd be fine to be on the September 8th. Is that enough time, right?
Right, that would meet the time requirements,
Okay.
yes.
And now, do the abutters get notified on this? So nowhere in the regulation did it say notification of abutters. You can ask for the abutter list, but it didn't say notification of abutters. And I know some towns notify them, some towns don't notify.
We notify the
Oh.
butters, yeah.
If it went of the special permit here.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, but we're not applying for the special permit. It did ask for the abutters list for the preliminary subdivision plan.
Okay.
We
I
gave it
don't
to
know
you.
the answer to that
Yeah.
question. I think Heather would know whether.
Okay. Easy enough. And just let us know.
But typically, for something this big, I would assume the butters are gonna be notified at some time.
Yes,
And they're in.
and I think some of the abutters already know, because we've been out there doing some survey work. They already know kind of what's going on. So. And the list was fairly decent, so
Okay.
it's a good size piece of
Yeah,
property.
I'm sure.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
well, they have that, again, like I said, there was that condo development or whatever, the, over near,
Drive.
When you drive those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it goes up top.
near the ball fields.
Yeah.
Yes, and so that's why I think,
All the senior housing.
I think we picked up a few abutters, however it worked out, I think a few abutters picked up over there too, so. But, okay, easy enough, and so you don't need any paperwork from us today then?
Nope,
Okay,
none,
awesome,
none,
all right. thank you for
none
your time,
here.
guys.
This is great. I mean, the introduction is great. And you obviously were very prepared. So if you can get that to Heather,
I'll bring that over to them
then,
tomorrow
then
morning.
she'll put it through the process to it. And if you send me,
PDF and all that stuff.
yeah, you can send me the PDF and I'll share them with Heather and
Okay.
everybody else.
Perfect. Do I need to call before I come in now? Or is the doors open now?
Doors are open.
Perfect. Okay.
Shouldn't have a problem.
I know before I had to call, so. okay,
Yep.
Awesome.
No,
Thank you, guys.
it Should be easy.
Closed Friday.
Thank you, Wes.
Good. Yeah,
Yeah.
closed Friday.
Close Friday.
Yeah, I'll be in tomorrow morning. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Okay, that ends public comment, since I see nobody here and nobody's online. And so now we get to the good part. Get to talk about this warrant.
Before, off the record, or however you want to term it, but.
Yeah.
I've thought about this parcel.
Oh, the
and I
one that
didn't-
he's doing?
I didn't know it was like imminently
Yeah.
in the process of being planned for. But, I thought it might be worthwhile at least investigating the possibility of having the rail trail bikeway or bike thing go through there. Because right now, I think the bike is proposed to be put on Center Street.
Yeah, it's on
In
the,
other words, we only own up to Turnpike. Bingo.
Yeah.
And if this thing is coming into Turnpike, that's why I think.
we
that-
actually crossed Turnpike, but then we hit Dimick's properties
Right.
later. So and that's really, it's
That's right.
following. But there's a difference between the rail trail and a bike path.
Well-
And we did go out there when we were looking at the rail trail, trying to sort of restore the rail trail and connect to the upper part on the others, which is on the other side of, I guess it's Whitney
I
Pond or
sort
whatever.
of sketched out something on that property, which I can send you
Okay,
as part of a rail trail. In other words, I don't know, would you rather walk on Route 101 or would you rather walk through a subdivision?
well, I can make,
Does it
I-
coincide with the open space that's proposed?
That's what I was thinking.
yeah,
is
and I
that-
mean, there's, the great thing about what you're saying is there's real opportunity here for once having some kind of a
Yeah.
coordinated effort between,
Yeah.
you know, the rail, because we did go out there.
Mhm.
This is, I'm talking, going back 4 or 5 years for
Okay.
me, well before I was on the planning board.
Yeah.
And I walked with Chris Pacone.
Yeah.
I walked at the end of that thing. We were trying to find a way to get to Briggs School, you know, to work our way
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
to there, because what we wanted to do is create the rail trail and have, so kids can ride their bikes, you know, freely to, you know, Briggs School and back, and it was safe and it was off the road and everything. And, you know, we were trying to find a way around, you know, to keep it off of 101
Well,
and
I think
move
now's
it that
the time.
way.
They're going for a preliminary subdivision plan.
Yeah.
At this point, now's the time to
Mhm.
begin to think about it before they get too set in their ways. And I mean, the fact.
Well,
that-
I think the thing that's neat about that idea, that if properly designed,
Yeah.
it could actually make the value of that subdivision go up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Agree, but I mean,
Could
if
create-
that- if that ends right here at New Street, then it's a stone's throw
Yeah.
from Whitney Pond,
Yeah,
you know, which is where you wanted to go
And the
at
playground.
the end.
to get
And
through.
So I throw it out there as an idea.
That's an
that-
interesting idea.
And I
I'll
will-
bet, you know, that's interesting. It throws a little bit of a kink in the money we just got for the town. They just got $1 million, particularly for that stretch of
Yeah.
101, but primarily, but not just because of the bike, but because of the multi-use and the walking, you know, too. I mean, it
Right.
was
Right.
because they're trying to create a good connection between Main Ashburnham and South Ashburnham and make
right.
that, you know, much more economically viable corridor.
Yeah, yeah.
But again, when you get in an OSRD, we have the opportunity
Yeah.
to have input, whereas standard subdivisions. we
Standard
always have-
subdivisions, we, you know,
Or A&Rs, we get no. input.
because our bylaws are pretty hands-off,
Yeah.
the ones
Yeah.
that we
Yeah.
have.
Mhm.
But you're right, when you get into open space, which is what they're trying to submit here,
Mhm.
we have a little bit more influence over how they might design.
Flexibility, I would think.
Actually, when you read that OSRD, we have a lot of influence. on
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
There's a lot of requirements in there.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of how we balance it with,
Yeah,
Well, good. I'm glad I was here to.
no, I'm
Yes.
glad you were too.
and I just.
You
say
should
that-
come more often.
Yeah. I say the larger,
I know you have
the
the time.
larger the development,
Yeah,
the more opportunity we
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
to get,
very true.
to make it work, whereas, you know,
Yeah.
a small one, there is just.
There's
little-
so little you can do, yeah, and
Yeah.
particularly when people are
Yeah.
on lots and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, this was the meeting and it didn't work out quite the way I wanted, because I had wanted Deb Phillips to be
Yeah.
here for this meeting. And we also wanted MRPC to be here for this meeting. So we may sort of continue, we should, I think, have the conversation now, and then we should continue this for September 8th. And I'll reach out to them
Okay,
after this meeting and say, okay, we're continuing the discussion on September 8th. But let's have an initial discussion and make sure that Larry, Richard, and Steve are brought up to speed on this with us.
well, that'll be good because that will give me a chance to, you know, as I've, you know, reviewed Debbie's initial comments, but now that I've sent her and.
Yeah, we only had, they showing
I
you
asked
2
them
copies.
just for two,
Yeah, yeah.
just so we can make notes on it.
There's 2
and stuff, but I'll
copies.
make, yeah,
If you,
she wasn't able to get it in color.
if you
Yeah.
and Steve can share that, and I have electronic copies anyway, so.
Okay.
So
We Steve lost for 1 second, so I think that's a good.
give us, just to make sure we're all on the same page, particularly Steve, Larry, and Richard. Do you think Marshall and Roger are probably best to explain the history of this, but as you will recall from our meeting that we had a hearing in April, and that hearing in April was to review a bylaw amendment, which essentially gets rid of the W district, the wetlands overlay district for the town. And there are, multiple reasons for that. It's redundant. Some of the requirements in it, were in conflict with, or at least redundant to the other laws that exist in the state. And so we had MRPC gave us an initial draft of that. There's two parts to it. There's the actual warrant article, which would be the amendment that removes certain sections from our bylaws. I think there's a strong argument for it because it will greatly, it gets rid of a lot of the bureaucracy. And I think that is something that, while a lot of people in town might be resistant to change, this is a change that I don't think they would resist because it actually removes bureaucracy as opposed to creating bureaucracy. And it did require some change to the zoning map as well. And MRPC gave their, I sent that to Deb Phillips to get her sort of suggested edifications to it. She simultaneous to that, Marshall, in his role as the chair of the Conservation Commission, he gave his edits. When he gave his edits, I sent them to Deb Phillips to do some editing on, and Deb just got them back to me yesterday. So we haven't had a lot of time to sort of look at them, but that's where we are. So Marshall, you want to take it from there?
Yeah, I mean, really, we're trying to deal with two separate issues at once. The W district is something that, I encountered, or the commission encountered, and realized that it was duplicative of the Wetlands Protection Act and the Conservation Commission's mandate to regulate certain resources and buffer zones there too. And not the Zoning Board of Appeals, which is where this W and Watershed Protection District is all these horizontal lines here. And they're all based on elevations, which in 1973, or 72 and 3, when this map was generated, was based on mean sea level. As the datum, mean sea level hasn't been damned since 1973. It's been changed 3 times. So, and it's going to be changed soon again. So the fact is, trying to locate, 1160 mean sea level on any kind of USGS map these days is virtually impossible. And the other thing is that nobody in town that I know of these days provides you with what's called absolute elevations. In other words, per reality, they're all relative elevations. They go out, they stick a nail in a tree, they survey that, they call it 100, and then all their contours from that point on are 90 or above 100. So nobody does it in absolute. Otherwise, you have to drag and bend known USGS National Geodetic Survey benchmarks from God knows where, and what a pain that would be. So anyway, the technicalities side, the primary reason is to get rid of the redundancy of regulation. And also because this map, which attempts to show these W district areas, are subject to misinterpretation. Nobody, people come in, they look at this map, they try to, put this on their plan, they have no idea where it is. And they don't realize that there's a 1973 map that shows you where it is, and which is referenced in the bylaw. So, and despite the disclaimer down here that this map is not for regulatory purposes, everybody tries to use it as such. When I dragged that map out on a public hearing a couple of years ago, everybody's face dropped. That can't be true. It's 50 years old. Welcome to Ashburnham. It is true. So anyway, that's separate. And that's my own personal motive. But the other one, the water supply protection overlay district, which is what the planning board initially started to work with, was the result of a consent, was totally predicated on a consent order, which from June of 2015, between the town and town joint water authority and DEP, which mandated that the town do several things to bring things up to snuff with state law. And one of the things was to revise its local, water protection bylaws to comply with current state regs. And that's what we've been trying to do here. And well, you may have seen in my other email to Deb today, in the consent order, which no one seemed to have, nobody could find. So I went to DEP and said, look, we're responding to this, but no one has it. So can you give me a copy? So the central.
I saw the first email, but I didn't see the responses.
So finally, they said, email me a copy. So at least now we knew what we were dealing with. And in that consent order, there were like 10 things that the town had to do, one of which was update its bylaws. And as I told you, when you look at the second email, as I told Debbie, who knows whether the town ever did the other 9 things.
Well, just to go back, when this started, came to us, we were told, we've done the other 9 things, this is the last thing we need to do. That's the way it presented it to us 4 years ago, whatever, when we got it.
And I'm saying, wouldn't it be nice if one could have the documentation in front of us that said, yes, check mark, and here it is. And so I suggested that perhaps someone would want to contact like the Water Commission or the guy up at the Virio or whatever the name is of the water treatment plant, and maybe in their records. But they, there were certain deadlines, like within 180 days, thou shalt do this, and otherwise you're going to pay this mega fine. Who knows? I mean,
Yeah, when we got that, and George Cornwall was on the board then, and he started to work on that bylaw, that one page. And reviewed it with DEP. And then we realized there was other references throughout the bylaw that we needed to do, and that's when we contacted, got you involved, and you gave us great research, and we got MRPC in line to do the bylaw update. And we've been going back and forth, which then has me some change in the zoning map, so, but we've corresponded with them periodically and updated and told them where we are with it. So it's not like there hasn't been a lack of correspondence. It just hasn't been.
It just hasn't come to fruition yet.
So, and I think what's happened, it's culminated, as usually happens when, we're a couple of days before this meeting and I'm reaching out to say, well, you are coming to the meeting or are you not? Oh, sorry, I can't make it, blah, 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 blah. The bottom line is at least we got Deb to give her initial thing of it. So I sent it to you on email, so I'd say to everybody, check your email. You should all have a copy of the, of Deb's edited version. And the only, while Deb made some tweaks to what Marshall wrote, her big thing was about presentation of the warrant. There's a lot of narrative that was in there that narrative can go off to
I don't
the cover memo. That narrative goes off to the cover memo that says, this is why we're doing this, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And that, so I would like, everybody has an assignment. Number one, read the current version or whatever and think, and I would urge, so that we can make the September 8th meeting productive, review that and send your comments via email so that we can keep this, keep it going. Roger was dealing today with the map issue, so you want to tell us where we are on
Well,
that?
as far as the map portion of the bylaw change, we have any further comment on that. As part of the other DLTA project to get that information, numeric information of boundaries and such onto the current zoning map is another task. And the question was asking Debbie is thinking about how do we present two articles that adjust the maps. One is what we need for enforcement. So the building inspector can tell people what district they're in. That needs to be done as one article. Then the bylaw change and its corresponding map change need to be another article, but we all kind of need to end up with a unified map that reflects what the people approve, whether they approve both, one or the other. So that's the next step for Debbie to think about, is how we achieve that. If I can go into the zoning map portion, and Jason wasn't available, but I think we don't need him tonight. I think we have a good handle on what direction we're going in. Sarah has asked that we have the street names updated and correct on the map. We found we have that information from the street map that MRPC did a couple of years ago.
Right.
Since they've done both, it should be a simple matter of getting that layer of street names turned on and that one turned off.
Right,
And then we achieved that. She would like to have it designated which is a private road, a town road, and non-maintained, which that information is on that street map. Designated. So, and the third part was identify scenic roads, which we have a list of roughly 10 scenic roads in town.
Yeah.
Which should be just as easy to add
Color
that
code.
information onto the map. So we need to give that information, whether it's that copy or whether the board determines that one of the copies, more recent one, 1978 or 1984 or something, that's at the library, is the one to use, because there are changes to the district, but basically that information.
Oh, I'm gonna
Is-
defer to you two on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys would be.
Yeah. As far as saying that the RB district changes to RA 1,000 feet from Route 12, well, yeah, that hasn't changed and it's graphically depicted on that map. It's just the number is missing.
Well, if the W district goes away,
A lot of that.
all these elevations become.
Elevations go away. We just need the boundary distances that are relevant to current.
Right, and
Map.
you and I were having a problem with this
Yeah,
area
yeah.
up in here. And there's nothing to say that you can't make new boundaries.
Or, right, and but our intent is not to make substantive changes to the map. We're only trying to get correct information on the map, and then the bylaw committee, when they do all that and
Right,
whatever zoning
right.
things we want to do, that'll be the next
Yeah, I mean,
future step.
the only thing was that when we took away the W district up in
Yeah.
that area, it ended up splitting the industrial zone such that there was a little blip of
Oh, yeah.
light industrial in the middle of nowhere.
Well,
And you
it's
couldn't get there from
because
here.
that industrial district was defined by parcels.
Yeah.
Whereas everything else in town is designed, designated either by a river, a street,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
some numerical
Well,
distance.
and that's
And that's
why,
why it came that color. It'll
Yeah,
go away.
yeah, well, I think we're gonna have to,
But that's,
either redefine that and by more strictly by
Yeah.
parcels, or
that's kind of a third.
it is,
Yes.
but it unfortunately, you can't do one without the other.
Well, I'm trying to say we don't do policy
Yeah,
changes. We're only trying to correct the zoning, the W district.
no, but you
conflict
gotta
with
end up
zoning.
with something that makes sense. So,
But we can't be changing somebody's parcel.
why not?
We could, but why? Why would we? And open it up to
Well,
more questions of
and I-
why.
No, I think there's good reasons why, and,
And-
I'm at the 8th, or before, if I can shoot
Yeah.
some information to everybody,
Well, yeah.
we can do.
Yeah, but that doesn't relate to the DLTA task of getting the zoning map correct with the information.
With whatever
That's-
we want it to be, yes.
They're two different things that happen to be intertwined, so we don't
Yeah.
end up with
Yeah.
confusing the public with multiple maps.
Right, oh, no, it's gotta be.
So I think if the board can determine what information to give to MRPC to put on the map. And as Sarah has pointed out, there's possibly some inconsistencies with the 1994 street listing and maps and such. So if that information needs to be verified,
And this is, well, we've already had this with Jason discussion, I mean, this is wrong.
Yeah.
This is not part of the watershed,
but that's,
so, I mean,
yeah, it's got to define which is which part.
Yeah.
Now, do you need to give the information to who, MRPC?
To Jason at
Okay, Jason.
MRPC,
Right.
of what information we want put on the map. So at this point, I think,
so you got a second grant from,
oh, yeah,
okay,
completely different. And this is anticipated to be a summer task
okay,
that will be ready for town meeting. We just do have to have a public hearing because we're changing the map.
Yep.
Even though we don't.
And
really wanna
if we
be
don't have,
changing
it,
anything.
and if we don't have a special hearing, a special town meeting by mid-October, let's see, April, May, June, July,
yeah.
August, September, October.
Yeah.
6 months, we have to have another
One for the
one for
bylaw.
the bylaw.
well.
So we may,
Make it a joint.
we may make it like a joint meeting.
If we're having a hearing and then we're good for another 6 months.
But let's, in order to keep progress going on this thing. Assignment for Richard, Larry and Steve is, go through what we sent you, what I sent you with regards to the draft of the bylaw from Deb. Marshall, did you have any other comments to add to that? You think what she
No,
did
I
is
mean,
fine?
I have to go through.
You'll go through
I
it
think
too.
she's looking for a little more, she's asked the question like, well, why do we need to include this?
Okay.
Or if you do need to include it, then
Yeah.
maybe it needs to be expanded elsewhere, so,
So while sort of generally speaking, people can provide their comment via email relative to what they read in that. And so we'll keep that moving with Deb so that the goal would be to, by September 8th, we walk into that meeting with the draft cover letter and the draft warrant article that we can just vote on and approve and say is fine. And if we don't have a special town meeting, later in September, then we'll have to have another hearing, in October or mid-October ago, because I think it was like April 14th or something like that, that we had our last official hearing on the topic.
We would, if we want to have the map corrections
Yeah.
onto a town meeting,
We have to have
we have to have a public hearing.
and if we have the map one early, we'll just include this
Yes,
anyway,
yeah.
just to have a second
Mhm,
one to
yes.
do them both together.
But we-
And so we know how, we know what our steps are between now and September 8th for getting the wording of the warrant right. So the steps for the map are, you said we need to make sure Jason is given the right information to put on, who's doing that.
Well, we gotta make sure that we agree what the right information is before we give it to them.
Well, I think, and we can do that here. It's going to be the district boundary information. At least as far as distances, I guess we can't. Or don't, or how do we put on or do we not, the W district information that we're eliminating, the next going to one, we just leave it off and don't put it on.
Yeah,
Fine, so we just want the numerical distances that define district boundaries, other than the W.
That's
Based
right.
on elevation.
right, including obviously the ones that are also causing confusion up at, 101 and 119,
Right,
which we've talked about.
yeah, and in that one, we were able to, in the wording of the district, tie it back to
Yeah.
those numbers, but
Yeah.
all the others vanished and leaving.
Well, they did, and when I pulled this out and showed it to Sarah the first time, she says, oh, look, that's where the distance comes from.
Yeah,
It's from here, because none of that
it's
ever.
on, yeah, and so that's, I will, I don't want to be in a position like we were in May. Oh, in 20 days, we're having a town meeting.
No, well, that's exactly why I'm doing what we're doing. That's exactly why. So now we have a date where I know that after September 8th, the next step is for the town or me or Deb or whomever's supposed to do it, sends it to the Attorney General, and the state
Yeah.
says, gives their blessing to it, which I don't think necessarily takes time, but then it's ready to go to the town meeting to be voted on. So
Yeah,
that should take care of the wording. That's sort of.
Oh, the word,
Yeah,
yes.
the Word document.
Right.
The map,
Mhm.
we want to, our goal, I think, should be by September 8th, is have Jason, give the instruction, and I'm gonna really defer to you two, because you guys know how to give Jason the instruction of
Mhm.
what he needs to do. And we should see on September 8th, at least a draft, if not,
Yeah.
of how the new map is going to be. And that if we say we feel comfortable with it or right, then we can work with Deb as to, well, okay, what's the next step
We
and how do we
just-
get this thing?
Three things
Before
we
the
need to
town.
do is find the most recent old map. Because it doesn't look like the information changed much in 20, 30 years, but I know the library has a more recent one that was in the drawer here.
I have 94,
And it looks like that,
sort of.
okay.
Yeah.
So
Well,
1994.
I've got them at home,
Yeah,
because I went to the
alright.
library, made copies of everything.
Yeah,
Um,
I took pictures on my phone. You may
Yeah.
have a real copy
Yeah.
that's usable.
yeah, I do have a hard copy. I mean, I can
Okay,
bring
that would be great.
I can
That
bring
would
them in.
answer that. We can,
What I don't have is what's referenced. Okay, this is 2011.
Yeah.
Is this the one that's referenced in the zoning bylaws now?
it may go to 2004 or
That's
something when the,
Okay, all right.
well, the village center district is the most recent thing, I
That's
think,
true.
on that map,
That's
and
true.
that's fairly well shown there.
That is, yeah,
It's
Well,
anything
yeah, no, this
before
is-
the green
this is
business
good.
district was added,
right.
is what we need to find, the most recent before that.
Okay.
And then if the board decides that one of us, one of you, one of the board members and I and Sarah can determine the information and get it to MRPC, then we can maybe have something for September meeting.
Just to give you a quick example, belaboring this is a W district zone, this blue blob here. Okay,
Right.
the blue blob goes away.
Well,
What does it become?
that's
Does it
what we,
become
that's,
Does it come yellow
Yeah.
or orange?
light
that's a-
industrial, or does it become,
right, but that's a W district by law question.
but the question is, but the map has to change. The map.
Well,
has to-
that's why we're at 2 stages with maps. We need a map that has that information on it and reflects the current zoning. And then we need a map which reflects the W district
Well,
change.
this map is a representation of those boundaries.
It's supposed
So
to.
you're never gonna get
Right,
the exact boundaries
Right.
on this.
right.
So for all intents and purposes, this is that.
Yeah, so
The
it's
W
going to
district.
get those numbers added to it. And
Well,
then,
okay, you could put elevations.
well, we're not, I guess that's what we don't want to do the elevations. 'cause
Yeah.
That's
No, I don't think
reading
you
it
need to.
incorrect.
But again, telling Jason what he needs to do, what do we tell him that becomes?
It stays that, it stays W district on the DLTA zoning map update.
And
Why?
Because if the bylaw change doesn't pass at town meeting, then we don't have
Well,
a
I mean,
map
all,
with
oh,
yeah,
but we have
enforcing
to.
information.
but see, but why wouldn't you just,
You could do it all as one article, and if it passes, we're fine. If it doesn't pass, we're left in our current status of having
No, all
maps and
we're-
bylaws that,
all
Don't
we're
work.
doing is trying to present a map. I mean, this is what we have now, folks. This is what we want it to look like. In which case, all this blue goes away
see,
and
all,
becomes something else.
I guess all I'm saying is, we don't need to, I understand what you're saying. You're saying kind of create 2 maps, one being, this is what it is now, correct, and then this is what we want it to be. But I think what Marshall's saying is, let's just do it once. This is what we want it to be. Leave the map screwed up like it is. It's screwed up, it's
Yes.
gone, it's past,
Yeah, there's
that's
no
past,
point in
there's no
fixing
point in
this, but-
fixing, it's no point in fixing that at all. Just go to the town and say, we're changing the bylaw, and this is what the new map will look like.
Because
And,
this one's.
when we say this is what the new map will look like, it's not only fixing
okay,
the thing, it will be very clear, it's not only fixing the fact that the wetland, the W district is gone. It's also fixing all the other
Yeah, doing
mistakes
all
that
this
are
other
done.
stuff.
It's-
then the downside of that is, if it doesn't pass at town meeting, then we have to come at the next town meeting and try to get the district information.
Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't pass at the town meeting, we'll just, I'll just.
Then the map- then
Oh,
the
no,
map is
if it
fine.
doesn't, fixing this is not a big deal.
Then we just basically say, okay, you did all this work. Now you
Put it
take
back where
this,
you
you
started.
take this work, apply it to this, fix
so-
it, and you have to put the blue in where the W district still is.
Yeah.
And but
I mean,
to me, I'm gonna be optimistic, we're gonna get it past the
Yeah.
town meeting, because most of the people at town meeting won't know what they're voting on anyway,
All
so.
right, so then,
Oh, I shouldn't say that, we're being recorded
All right,
here,
so what we want them to do is take the map that's been adjusted for the W district bylaw.
Yeah.
Use that, put that information on it. And we prepare one map and we go for all the marbles in one shot.
That's right.
Right.
That's what I'm
fine.
for. So
Okay.
that's what we tell Jason.
All right.
But we have to
I
give
agree.
Jason this
so I
information
go
here.
back then to my question.
Yeah,
What does that become once you take the blue away? Does it become RB or does it become light industrial?
And my question is to what degree do we have to involve the ZBA in that conversation, or can we just make our recommendation and let the
You're the planning
ZBA
board.
respond to it?
Yeah.
So we'll make our recommendation and we'll make our recommendation and ZBA can respond.
And
to
the
it.
same thing happens
The
here,
color it's
and
surrounding.
the
Right.
same thing happens here.
Right.
We've already
The color
decided
is
on,
surrounding.
Yeah,
on Old County Road, you know, there are some blips right in here. We've already, that one's an easy fix, but these were,
well,
Oh, to me,
problematic.
yeah, I
I mean,
mean,
that doesn't,
looks like most of
It's
that.
non-buildable stuff though, right? I mean,
but
it's,
it,
so you just make it
No.
the yellow, because it's yellow.
yeah, okay, here's
Just
my
make it
point.
yellow, because
Okay.
it's no good.
When this blue goes away here,
yeah,
this
Right.
little blip of light industrial
right,
is isolated
right.
from
Because
this.
it's,
So why does it should not be light industrial, it should be residential.
but it's because of a property that was designated,
But I didn't, it's stupid to not change it. to-
well, because that was done by parcels. And
I'm
that's
not-
where the
I'm not-
parcel boundary
I'm
is.
not sure it was.
That, it just, if you took the WA and that was all yellow and you overlaid the parcels, from what I've seen, that yellow boundary follows parcel lines. Well, that's why it has
This
a
doesn't,
convoluted
this is
shape.
a 1,000-foot buffer from. this
Right, and
road.
that's incorrect because they didn't use that information off of Sibley Road there for the distance, which is on that map.
Well, it purports to be 1,000 feet. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, but I mean, it's,
So,
that's an issue that doesn't stop them from
go.
doing that work. And getting us a draft to look at again, and for him to change that, that's not too much of a difficult, but he needs to get started on, which I think. If they
And would
drew
you say
that
all
map
of the
based on
other-
those
all the
numbers, they have
other-
information.
all the other ones you're saying would just turn orange.
Orange.
Yeah,
The vast
Everything
majority is
orange.
not a problem.
The other one,
Purple.
Purple,
This one
orange.
becomes whatever this color is.
Yeah.
You know?
and that one, the other one goes
There's a
yellow.
Little fix here, but this.
Make all that
is the
yellow.
problem.
Okay. Well,
Can't do nothing with it anyway.
I'm happy to just you guys recommend what you think he
Yeah.
should put there and
Yeah.
do it. You
But
know?
I just wanted to get started
I
on
certainly,
that information.
I certainly don't have a dog in the fight on
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah.
And I don't see where it affects. You know, I think our worry would be is if we felt it was going to have affect the residents of
Mhm.
this town, then we
Yeah.
need to worry
Right.
about it. But
Right.
since it's not gonna have an effect on the residents of this town, we should just recommend what we think
Yeah.
makes sense as a
Yeah.
planning board and do it.
And we're just trying, my opinion has been that we weren't going to try to change somebody's zoning
Mhm.
if it didn't involve, we have to.
No, we
put
don't want-
Something there. but we
No, the
don't want them to
zoning,
change
the
it.
zoning board changes have to happen in another forum with other, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
zoning. And there, we're just trying to get the maps right.
Yeah.
And get rid of the W district.
Well,
But it's not a clear distinction because,
you can talk about it all you want, but the blue has to become something.
yeah.
So you are
yeah.
changing the zoning district.
But.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you're right.
We.
Every
because of
blue
that.
is becoming
Yes,
what's surrounding it, except for that
Yeah.
area there, which is a
And-
problem.
we need to figure out, but. I mean, it could be,
Why is that?
it could be something else. It doesn't have to
But
be
to
RV
me,
or
I
yellow. I mean, we
In
could pick
terms,
any one of
well,
the other
in terms
districts
of,
you want.
in terms of process, let's
But
just
We'll move in on
collectively
that.
get moving on that. Let's
Mhm.
collectively, like I said, there's no two people in the town. You know, past you and Marshall that have a better sense of this at this particular time. So I think make the recommendations. I'll do the right thing and share it when we get it done, share it with the ZBA and share it with the town administrator and give them an opportunity to say, we don't like what you did. And if, and,
And we're gonna fix it. you know?
or they're going to accept it.
And it goes to the selectmen anyway.
It goes to the
before it-
selectmen anyway.
Before we can process it.
Yeah, so we're not doing anything
Yeah.
out of turn.
So-
And that will be an area where, you know, when it's presented to the Board of Selectmen, that we should call that idiosyncrasy or area difference out for them.
Now, in my email conversation, as far as things like the scenic road list, if we put that information on the zoning map, now it's in two places. And if the scenic road list is changed, then the zoning map needs to change.
Right,
But that's not gonna happen often.
no,
But it's just the point of information is now in two places,
that's right,
and how do you make sure it's right?
that's correct.
All you do is double your chances of being wrong.
Well,
But if it's,
well, you look at the date on the map, you know.
yeah, but I mean, but it just means if we
Yeah,
change
no, that's true.
the scenic road list.
Yep.
Then we need to change the zoning.
Right. I'm assuming that they can color code
Yeah,
things like that and just put a little, you know,
Yes.
add it to the legend.
I personally, I think that's a minor problem, because the last time the scenic road list was changed was 1971.
yes.
So I think we're
We're pretty good now?
we're
Yeah,
pretty good
well,
now, and I actually don't think that there's any political will to add more scenic roads to this town, so it is what it is.
No.
If anything, it will remove somebody
Yeah,
from
yeah.
a scenic road, it won't add a scenic road.
Yeah.
So we can go with Sarah's recommendation that would indicate scenic roads on the zoning map.
Yeah,
Okay, and we have that street listing with the classifications of streets. And as long as we can verify that that street listing is correct with what was approved at town meetings, or then we'll go with that information. So, I mean, it's not a complicated project for
Okay,
that.
okay. Well, if I can impose on you to continue
Yeah.
to sort of push it in that way and try to get it and just make it clear to Jason that our goal is to have something drafted for everybody to see at our September 8th meeting.
And on another point, on the list of zoning districts that are on there, the overlay districts, I think there are two more that aren't referenced on that zoning map that have been created since. I think the medical marijuana bylaw created an overlay district, which is the same district as all the other ones are, excluding Mount Watatic. But that should be referenced until it's deleted from the bylaw and changed. And I think there's, do we have the solar one on there?
I don't know.
And that's, again, the same boundary as the other overlay districts, everything in town excluding Mount Watatic.
Okay. All right.
Is there a boundary around Mount Watatic?
Whatever is on the zoning overlay districts. The red outline around town. And then there's the one that zigzags around Mount Watatic with the yellow line.
Oh, I see it, yeah.
Yeah. And then there's another one overlay district down in South Ash by Murray Road there that's on there.
That's
too.
part of the solar.
No,
No.
no, the solar is the same as the wind.
Yeah,
If the wind is on there and
the wind is,
yeah, the wind in the adult entertainment district.
We have an adult.
We have an adult entertainment.
That is,
I was on that committee.
That's the red
You
boundary.
were too.
The red boundary around the town is the adult entertainment, yeah,
is this?
yeah.
Well, I mean, just as an aside, and then I'm gotta go. The other reason to get rid of the W district is because you can't build a single family house in there, but adult entertainment's okay.
Mhm.
Colleges, universities, also stuff, but you can't put a home there.
Mhm.
No.
And that's what I say, that when you go back and look at the LIB district, the W district and the RB, there's
Look at
no,
the
it's
regulations,
not,
buddy. You don't.
some of
you
this
won't be
doesn't
looking-
allow what
I
it's
don't
allowed
see the
there.
Adult
and-
entertainment district. I'm still trying to find the adult entertainment. system.
Well,
It's the whole
Roger's
town.
saying it's this red line. It's-
Red line around town.
That's not the same
He's
red
just-
line that's marked on it.
I,
It's not. So in other words, the whole town?
yeah,
No, that doesn't make sense.
you have to read what's.
So you have to
in
read the bylaw.
Yeah.
Well, that's another thing.
Yeah, the bylaw, you're not getting it.
Yeah, I mean, if you.
Unless you wanna put up a $7
$7
million strip joint, you ain't getting in this town, 'cause it's
Richie was
it's
gonna
written
do it.
really big.
What I would suggest.
I don't think we have any adult entertainment by this map.
No.
We don't.
I
No,
would
but it's
suggest
in the
that,
bylaw.
you know, maybe the
Put it in
other,
the green,
the other
put it in the
overlay
green business
districts.
district.
Yeah, no, what it allows you to do.
Which was
is
just
regulate
as
it.
good
You was
as
on
the
that
adult
committee.
entertainment.
See, you were on that committee with the thing.
Yeah,
I would
cost
suggest
you
you think about.
$10 million
not
to
doing
build that
The other
place.
overlay districts, in other words, save that to the bylaw review committee. And the only thing you're changing is something that has to do with the W district and the water supply protection overlay district. And so all the changes on the zoning map strictly are a result of the changes to the bylaw that we're making. Not complicated by throwing up marijuana stuff. And
No, that's
Yeah,
not
I
changing
mean,
that.
that's gonna have to happen some other time.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean.
So just
it's-
that's the decision, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, so let's go
okay.
with that. It's.
And again,
And we have a PUD map too.
well,
Using
right,
on
right,
there.
yeah, all that has to change. But clearly, this is gonna be a planning board article, because it has to do with
Yeah.
zoning districts. This isn't a conservation commission thing.
No.
You know, obviously, I'll be there to put in my 2 cents worth. on
No,
it.
I already, yeah,
Right.
I'm comfortable with it.
Okay,
Yeah, and personally, and I mean, it's as long as we'll hopefully vote on it and officially make it official at the September 8th meeting, and then we'll, with regards to the wording, and hopefully the map will have a direction so that the two together can go, and we'll do another hearing, and we'll just put them both together again. And then hopefully we'll have a special town meeting sometime in the fall, later in the fall, and we'll be able to just get it voted on. And, but when we present it, I don't think this is, I know people are worried about it because, because there's a history in this town of just, if you put a change in front of people, they
Yeah.
want to vote no. But this is a pretty easy argument because it just eliminates bureaucracy,
Well,
which I think
do we
everybody
just-
wants to eliminate bureaucracy.
Well, maybe it is just one warrant.
Yeah.
Article, and
Yeah. And
it's
the
the
map.
zoning map with the information on it, and we just do it as one.
Yeah.
And,
And we just keep it simple.
and
And I think
Yeah.
the majority of people in this town, I think, want things made simple, so.
it would be nice, though,
if you explain that we're removing a conflict that costs the town thousands of dollars in legal fees
Yeah.
just to
To do it.
Well,
process.
well, not only that, but a lot of these boundaries are based on elevation. They're not a true indication of where the wetland boundary is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're taking away arbitrarily potentially developable land.
Yeah.
And so you're losing a tax base.
There's just too many good arguments for it, so I don't think we should worry about it too
No,
much.
no. but I think-
I'll be shocked if we're not gonna get the same kind of resistance that what was it, the nuisance or the,
Yeah,
or the.
yeah, No, I agree. I
I
don't
tell
think-
people they can't cut their grass.
Yeah,
and Can't have a
that's
TV outside.
Well,
That's right.
It's different.
Yeah, it's so.
The blight bylaw.
Yeah,
that was
the
the-
blight,
yeah.
That
So,
brought out, what,
essentially-
250 people to vote against it.
Essentially,
Yeah.
I think
I'm in
the,
favor of blight.
oh,
You're one of
this
those.
goes- this goes way back to a town
Don't
meeting
get me started.
discussing. There was an original version of that. And somebody came. And I don't know who it was. It said,
Are we still?
what if you consider an old junk car in your yard artwork?
Yeah.
And then then the discussion ended
Mhm.
at town meeting of that.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah.
But if we do it as one map, one article with that information.
It's
and-
done.
And we're done.
Okay, that's what we're doing.
And I think,
We have a plan.
Yeah.
We have a process. September 8th is our approval date.
Right.
And we've got some homework to do to make sure that we have it all formalized and something to vote on September 8th.
Mhm.
Okay?
All right.
And hopefully we'll be able to do that homework so that we can make it a short meeting in September 8th.
All right. Then.
Okay, thank you.
I think
All right.
most of the
Thank
work-
you.
I think they did a lot of work on the map as part of the W district, more than they anticipated. And if it's combined with this other delay
Mhm.
that we got for the map, I think it evens out as far as the work effort.
Oh, good.
involved in the
This is
LPA,
the
so.
road assignment thing.
Yeah,
Good. Okay, so let's just buzz through the last couple items and to close this meeting up, then we have to get the room number, or not the room number,
And
but
sign
we got to sign these, and then we've got to get the house number for the Lake Road property.
Real quick.
So any next item was any meeting reports. I have nothing to report on MRT. This is summertime, so nothing to report on MRT. Nothing much on economic development,
Not that
correct?
I know of.
Your complete streets is just going like,
Oh, yeah. they
they're just zipping along, right? Nothing
Without
there.
any input from me.
Yeah. Do you have any MRPC or?
no, the MJTC meeting that was today was canceled,
Uh-huh.
so nothing. to
Wasn't
report
this
there.
road voted on to change to 2 lanes?
What? Oh,
Right, this one?
I don't know if they vote, did the select board
I
vote
think-
on
I
that?
think they did.
I think they're, well, I know they're doing some experimental things.
Okay,
They've got their consultant came in and they're gonna try a couple of different traffic patterns.
okay.
Not to permanently do it, they want to see how the traffic patterns shifts work. Yes, but they're gonna make this road two-way and you're not gonna be able to stack up traffic, to go. I think that's one of the experiments they're gonna do. Of course, the bank and Dave Hearns aren't very happy about it.
They're gonna close the other entrance.
Because it's gonna close
It's
the other
front
entrance.
of- Between Dave and the bank is getting.
They're gonna close that and make this 2 lanes.
Mhm. And try to do something, but that's all. I don't know much more of it other than that. And,
Yeah.
and I don't know when the timing is, or I have no information on that at all.
Okay.
Any other committee
Good.
notices? Like I said, it's summertime,
Capital
so
planning hasn't met, I did get sworn in.
no meeting.
The other DLTA with MRPC, we haven't started yet, so nothing going forward with those.
We already appointed you to MRPC. So I don't know why they sent me another form. But we've already done that, but
Yeah.
I'll talk to Heather about that. We have a notice from City of Gardner with regards to decision on 0 Tiffany Boulevard, Gardner. So I'm going to ask Heather to put these kinds of notices into a PDF before every meeting, so that I can send them out to you and then just refer to them and you can read them at your leisure if you even care. But so there's another Gardner Zoning Board of Appeals decision on 57 Claremont. I thought we brought those to your attention at the last meeting. There's an appeals notice for August 17th, meeting notice in Gardner. Gardner sends us all their notices. That is on August 17th and at 7 PM. And let me see. Oh, yeah, they have a litany of cases that will be reviewed on that. So that's when the meeting is. When you see the copy, you'll so be notified. There is a letter to the planning board that I have not read yet, so I am going to defer that to the next meeting. Because I don't believe it was sent to me, so I'm seeing it for the first time, and it's too much to read to you now. Oh, it's about first refusal right on a property. I think the select board are already involved in that. It's on 0 Gibson Road. So it's coming out of chapter, and which means the town has right of first refusal. So and then zoning boards at Field Town of Ashburnham. 825. Okay, so this is so there's our zoning board of appeals will be meeting on 825. And what are they meeting about? Seeking a variance, I believe. They're seeking a variance. Zoning relief is granted for the minimum frontage requirement and the minimum requirement of upland area in a wetland and watershed protecting district. And they are referring to owner's information.
Is that the one on the Westminster Street?
The application that concerns. Give me an address. It's up, it's,
23 Westminster Street.
oh, that's the owner's information.
Yeah.
Yes,
He
yes,
came in here before.
Yep. Westminster Street.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so anyway, that's the notices. I apologize. I don't like to do notices at these meetings when I haven't seen them before, because I can be a little bit more concise if I've read them ahead of time. But that's all we have for today. And then approval of the minutes. Were you all able to see the minutes for June 23rd and July 14th? I looked at them. We've got to remember that the recorded minutes are the actual minutes of record, so those don't have to be perfect. They just need to be accurate. Does anybody have any changes or edifications to give them? So starting with June 23rd, can I have a motion to approve the minutes? of
Motion
June?
approved.
I have a motion and a second. Was
I'm not sure if I was here at this meeting, so
Oh, I actually don't think you were on.
I won't, so you have
Yeah,
to say.
yeah. So you'll second it. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
I
And same with the minutes, approval of the minutes of July 14th.
Motion.
second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
I
Aye. Next meeting is September 8th, and the one after that is September 22nd. That takes care of the next 2 meetings for the next month. And I'm subject to the fact that we are going to sign these Mylars after the meeting, and we are going to get the Lake Road house number done. With that understanding, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
I'll second it.
Motion is second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that we did our job, folks.
Bing, bang, boom.
That was very good time. This one.
Did you sign that one yet?